Want to make your money work harder? Enjoy another video with Adam Kahn, the rational investor, on stocks, real estate, and crypto. Subscribe now for your weekly dose of investment insights and hopefully learn a thing or two.
Hello, my YouTube friends, and happy Thursday. Today is November 21st. I hope you're all doing well. Before I even get into the video, I want to reach out to a new sponsor. How exciting. The sponsor is my wife, Lily. She says if you guys hit that subscribe button and smash the like button, that she'll actually make me dinner tonight. Now, the reality is she makes dinner every night, but that's my sponsor. No thing to click on other than the subscribe and like. I'd really appreciate if you guys could do that because I like to eat and I'm hoping to have some dinner tonight. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all enjoying the week. Google is getting crushed because of the Department of Justice ruling that they want them to spin off Chrome, and the way that they seem to have valued it, since Chrome is almost just like an ancillary add-on that helps make their system run well, and people like to use it, so it's super highly used, but it doesn't generate a lot of income. So they priced it really cheap, saying that it doesn't make a lot of income, but this just really damages Google, and I don't really know if the Department of Justice has a bug up their butt for Google, or if there's some other thing where they legitimately see it as a potential monopoly. But I think they need to look at it better, and I think people there, forgive me, just don't have the right insight, and I don't understand what's going on. But what I really do think is this creates a great opportunity to buy a great company. It's going to take a long time to play itself out, but seeing it down as much as it did, I actually added on to my position. I think it really creates good opportunity to get into something that isn't discounted all that often. It was already, in my opinion, valued pretty well on forward earnings. And now that this has pushed it even lower, I just see it as more of a value. That was always my little disclaimer or big disclaimer. You need to do your own research. Please use my information as entertainment purposes only. Reach out to your financial advisor or whatever research you do when making your financial decisions, and don't listen to what I say. I just share my opinions of what I think on the markets and what I think is going on. But Google is such a great conglomerate and has so many avenues of ways to be able to drive income. Whatever ends up happening, in the end, I think it'll be just fine and they're going to continue to do well. I kind of think of them as like the blue chip company of the internet. I don't see them as a big high flyer like some of the others might be, but they seem to continue to perform better and better at a consistent rate year over year, and it just seems to continue that way for a long time. And I don't really see that changing. Google's one of the companies that I want to have as a significant portion of my portfolio. And, we talk about this, but you really need to do an analysis of what fits your portfolio, because part of why I make that disclaimer is what I want for my account is not necessarily what you need for yours. People are at different ages, have different income levels, have different things going on that they're trying to accomplish with their portfolio. And by all means, send it as look me up under my information and send me an email, or put it in the comments if you have questions. I like this stuff. I'm happy to give you my ideas. But if you're at retirement age, it's going to be much different than if you're a young person starting out. I really like Ari Gutman and Ryan Williams. I think they're both excellent at what they do, and I like their information. And, they talk about it a lot. It's a matter of just getting started and putting away if you're young, even if that's $10, $20 here or there. Just get in the habit, and as you see the account growing, or if you're into dividends, the dividends starting to grow, I think that gets people excited into where they do more and more investing. And be prepared that sometimes the markets have big corrections. My God, I'm watching Bitcoin. It's super exciting. I don't know if you guys are watching as well. It seems to be getting closer and closer to that $100,000 per coin mark. When I started the video, it was just below $99,000. It's still, at least from what I saw, hadn't breached it quite yet. And I think it has a long way to run. That being said, when Bitcoin has its pullbacks, the pullbacks are immense. I think the last time when it made the high around $70,000, it dropped to below 20,000 afterwards. So even if it runs here and goes to some really high number, there's a potential chance that it could end up being back down later on. So you have to recognize if you're somebody who has the stomach for that and what your goals are. On the flip side, you could invest in something like Realty Income that has a stable dividend, and probably, anything can happen, isn't going to have any huge fluctuations in their price, but they'll continue to pay that dividend over time, and hopefully they grow a little as well. And then there's everything in between, which is kind of what I love about the stock market, is you really can gear it to what makes the most sense for you. Now, me personally, I tend to take on a little bit too much risk, and I know that about myself. I've been very fortunate that it's worked over the years, and I've gotten lucky with some things. But I know I have a little bit of gamble in me. Maybe that's why I live in Las Vegas. And that comes through in the positions I have on my stock accounts. And I'm going to talk about this one more time because I actually keep 3 different accounts because of this. I know I want to own companies like Meta and Amazon and Google and Chevron, and I can give you the whole list that I just want to own them. So I put the bulk of things in an account that doesn't even have online access where I can trade or do anything. And I think of it as being in a safe deposit box, and I just leave those things. And they tend to do really well over a long term. Now, the gambler side of me, I can't help being who I am. I then have a much smaller account where I put on the trades, and it's a lot of the things that I talk about in this video. For example, Boeing I have in that account, and not planning to make any changes. I just continue to sell calls in the hopes that the stock rebounds enough to get taken on some of those calls, and I have a smaller position over time. And then I have a third account that's similar to the one that's in the set it and forget it safe deposit box one, but it's a smaller account that focuses on dividends or Google. That's where I added on a little bit of Google. And I keep them separate on purpose because they have separate goals, including the fact that I've got my goals. So you need to determine what fits you for where you are in life. But the one thing I would really want to push among anything else is if you aren't already investing, is start. It doesn't have to be in stocks. It can be in anything that you guys pay attention to. When I was little, it was baseball cards, and that is an investment. No different. So is wine, so is real estate, so is artwork. There are so many things that are investments. My God, even things like I've noticed the original Nintendo games, people collect that. The original iPhone, people collect those things. The one thing I recommend is whatever it is that you collect, you really become an expert at it. Because what I find is if you're not an expert, you end up getting taken advantage by the people who understand it better, and they sell you the thing that they know isn't worth as much as something very similar that a person might be comparing it to. So be really careful in whatever it is you invest in, but really I suggest investing. It's part of what I hate about the guys that are so doom and gloom. I feel like those videos kind of chase people out of saving. I like their content. I find it interesting, but when I watch the comments about how the government sucks and the man is always against you and my boss is this and everything else, and they want to blame the world and cause an excuses to the reason why everything is set against them. Well, it is set against you, but it is what it is, and you have to learn to adapt and just move with it. That doesn't mean hurt yourself on top of it. Figure a way to get ahead and use the negative information to do the best you can. For example, with the Department of Energy and who they're putting in. I don't know that I'm right, but the guy is on the board of a couple of companies, and I think by that, odds are those companies might do well. Yeah, you can take advantage too. You just buy into whatever you think is moving and don't get angry at the fact that others have different advantages. Now, if you've never opened an account or don't know how to, it's so easy. It's like opening anything at any bank account. Forgive the guy in the background. we're having them redo some stuff in the yard, and I thought they were done for the day. But all it asks is name, phone number, address, social security, date of birth. Maybe you have to submit your license or something to show that you are who you are. And then you can put in a deposit, even if it's as little as $20. I have an account that I set up for my son that I started out putting $10 every now and then, and I bumped it up to 20. And at one point I was doing 50, but work has slowed down, so it's back down to 20. You do what you can and you push as far as much because, like I said, you kind of get excited as you watch it grow. Now, I assume you guys all saw a little bit of yesterday. NVIDIA reported they beat earnings on both levels. The stock sold off yesterday after the close. It seems to be balancing out where it's either up or down a little bit at this point. I don't know what they would have expected for NVIDIA for the stock to go higher, unless it was some magical, totally out of the realm of impossibility type of earnings, because quite honestly, they're astounding and they keep making more and more money, and I see them as one of the best places to be invested. The other one that cracks me up was Palo Alto Network, which I talked about yesterday because it was down a good bit after beating earnings as well. And at least last I saw, by the time it opened today and started trading, it reversed and was moving higher. Again, another company I just think is a great company that I would want to have in my portfolio. And on the days that they're down, I see it as good opportunities to get in them. Don't get over emotional and buy them when they're at their tops and sell them at the bottoms. Make sure when you put that money into something like that, you don't really need it. And you're okay letting it just do what it does and giving it the time it needs to. If you want to trade, that's totally a separate issue, but then I would recognize that and have an account specific for doing that. Now, forgive the background change, but the guys working on my yard came back. It started making some noise and got a bit distracting as well. So I wanted to continue talking, but wanted to move where it wasn't such a distraction. So back to like the guys who I really like and think it's worth watching. If you guys don't already watch, Joseph Carlton, Ryan Williams, spelled like the baseball player, not Ryan, but R-Y-N-E, Ari Gutman, and Russ from Dapper Dividends. I think they all provide some great information in different stages of how they invest and what they're investing in. Ari and Russ and Ryan all seem to focus on dividends. Joseph Carlson, I think he's working on building, he calls it his story fund, but he does a lot of really good research and has some good insights. I like some of the picks he picks. And I'll use an example of one of the ones that I loved his pick as to why you really need to do your own research. And I don't mean to harp on it, and I don't really just mean it as a disclaimer, but I think this is a good example. He did a great analysis on Booking.com or Booking Holdings, and I was in full agreement. So I put the position on, but to be fair, I didn't do the appropriate research since it wasn't my pick. After he did, I looked into it, I liked what I saw, and I bought some of the stock. And I'll also tell you, me personally, I like stocks that have a really high dollar valuation. I don't mean valuation in terms of price to earnings, but I kind of would rather a stock like Booking that is now at $5,000 a share, but when he first started talking about it around $3,500, because it gets a lot of the noise out of the price on the stock. And what I mean is, a lot of people think that the dollar value just makes it expensive or inexpensive. Like a $2 stock is cheap and a $5,000 one is expensive. That's not necessarily true, depending on how many shares outstanding there are. And when you get to the ones that are quote unquote more expensive, the reality is you have less of the retail investors investing in them. And I would rather it that way because I find there's less emotion and less up and down because of bad valuation, just from the volume of people buying it or selling it. Now, the funds are going to run it too, but they're probably running it on each other. So when it gets out of value, somebody's going to step in and put it right back up because there aren't a ton of people making trades. That being said, back to what I was explaining about it. So I bought Booking around $3,500. By the time it was up about $200 a share, I was all too excited because it wasn't my pick. And I would find the same would have happened if it went the other way. No matter what, I was going to mess up the trade. I got out. Don't get me wrong, I was happy to make what I did, but it wasn't very much as it ran to 5,000. And my guess is he still owns it because he believes in it and picked it as his company. If the stock dropped, I would have panicked and sold it at the wrong time too. Again, mainly because it wasn't my pick. So when you guys watch me, recognize I'm talking about what works for me. Don't buy Boeing because I like Boeing. Because when it's going down like it has, maybe you get too uncomfortable, maybe you trade it poorly, but if it's not your pick, you're probably not going to trade it the way you should, if you're even trading it. Same with Google that I recommended today. I think it's a bargain where it is today. But you know what? If it dropped to 140 or $120 a share, I would think it's more of a bargain and I would be okay with that. And on the flip side, if I woke up in a year or two and it was trading at 300, and I'm making these numbers totally up, of course, I don't think I would be anxious to get out of it either. I like the company and I want to be invested in them. That's why I stick with the ones that I really stick with. In the trading account, of course, I mess around. I have ones that are super crazy sometimes. Um, but I guess that's just what the accounts are intended for. And I do it with a small amount that I'm not too concerned what happens with those funds. And it is what it is. Don't tell my sponsor. I don't want my wife being upset if she found out that we lost some money in one of those accounts. She probably wouldn't make me dinner and I'd be in big trouble. Anyway, I hope you are all having a great day. Maybe I'll have time to talk tomorrow. It's going to be a little spotty though. We're going out of town for Thanksgiving. Super excited and visiting Grandma and Grandpa, um, which is always a lot of fun. So we'll be hanging out and doing them. But I'm sure I'll find some time to grab the camera and do some videos. I still have a live planned. Either I'll do it on a walk, but I'm half hoping I can do it in their backyard of my aunt and uncle's house because they've got chickens and it's kind of a neat backyard, and maybe we'll see somebody running around the background. Again, if I find something else to yabber about, I might continue. But before I forget, don't forget to give a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Make some comments. Let me know what you guys are looking at today, or did you buy anything this week? Did you sell anything this week? Do you tend to just leave it and hold it the way that I try to, or do you trade? Just interested to hear what you guys do. Have a great day, and I'm sure I'll talk to you in the next couple of days.